All right.
Hello, welcome to the September 1st outreach meeting. My name is Tim Erickson, and we're going to start out our meeting as we usually do with introductions. People could just share their name, where they are today, and anything interesting that they want to share or that they're working on right now. I'll go ahead. I'm Tim Erickson. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. My background is a little different because I'm in a different I'm still in Deerwood, but I'm not in the same house I usually am. So I'm dog sitting. So in my earlier meeting today, the dogs got anxious and started barking and making noise, which will make some of you happy, but maybe not everybody. So that's it. Anyways, and I'm excited about the next release that's coming out. We're having feature freeze today, so that's cool. Robert, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet. I'm coming to you from Altadena, California, where it's 99 degrees in the shade. And, pass it to Greg.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece, which is like it's what is it, 11 something p.m. and it's still 26 or 28 or something. That's Celsius, still hot. I haven't joined the meetings in like months now, so there's a lot of things to catch up. And yeah, I thought that it was going to be useful with the coming release, but then I jumped in the issue queue and it was so many things that I needed to catch up with that I started getting myself into rabbit holes. But yeah, I'm slowly sort of like coming back from my hiatus, and yeah, excited, but it's going to take a bit of time. I'll pass it on to Martin.
Hi, I'm Martin in the UK. I'm getting ready to launch the first backdrop site that I've done for a client from scratch. It's not a migration from Drupal, and it's been quite fun because it's just been a blank slate. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm quite excited about having HTML 5-day widgets in 1.23. I think that's a very good feature that's coming. I'll go to Sarvashri.
Okay, my name is Sarvashri, and today I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, out shopping, so I'm mobile, and I'm interested in getting beginners to learn more about backdrop. So that's my main thing. Let's see who else hasn't been.
Joseph or Jen?
Yeah, okay, good.
Joseph, do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a developer. Jen?
Jen Lampton, joining from a dark room in Oakland, California. I'm currently working on a bunch of updates to the first backdrop site I built after Backdrop 1.0 launched. And I am so pleased to see all of the new stuff that's in core. In particular, there are things that we implemented in other ways before they were available in core, like field blocks and hero blocks and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool to sort of take a trip back down memory lane and see all the progress we've made. That's it. Back to you, Tim.
Joseph, how hot is it in Las Vegas today?
Hang on a moment.
We were getting heat reports everywhere else. We have to hear from
It is 105 Fahrenheit, which is very hot.
Yeah, well, that's about 90 here, and that feels hot, but so.
It's 74 in Northern California.
You guys. So today we have an outreach meeting, and I don't know. Go ahead.
For the record, that's 41 Celsius.
Yeah, I like to do that at the opposite end when it's minus 20 degrees, convert it to Celsius. But okay, we were talking about our agenda for today. So I haven't thought too much about the agenda today. We do have a Backdrop Live coming up. We have a Bad Camp coming up. we have a number of things that we could be talking about. Did anybody come with anything in particular that they want to be sure we address on the agenda?
Yeah, and since it's actually on the agenda right now, Civic CRM update. We've got Civic CRM on the beta site. We've got it integrated with the user registration page and the user profile pages and edit pages. And I partly asked people to take a look and make sure that they like what they see. Because I think if they do, then we would be ready to move it onto the real site. And I would further propose that kind of the first real thing we try to do with it is to move the newsletter to change that to a Civi mailing.
Sure.
And that would require then getting the newsletter emails to import to create Civic CRM for that contacts. Just encourage people to go take a look at your account page on beta.backupcms.org and click around and see if you see anything amiss or that we still need to attend to.
Okay, great. I took a really brief look a week or two back, but I haven't really dug around much yet. So I will try to do that soon.
And there's been changes in the last 2 weeks. So
Okay.
good stuff.
Good. Anybody have any questions about Civic CRM? Greg?
I don't have a question about Civi, but since the registration page was mentioned, where are we with, because I've been away for months, have we made any progress with regards to single sign-on for the various sites?
To my knowledge.
Yeah, okay. Because I think maybe my recollection is like, I think that there were some modules that were ported in one of the Stanford sites or something like that, that one of the single sign-ons, or maybe I'm mistaken, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so we have made a little bit of progress in a lot of different directions on single sign-on, none of which I think have gotten us significantly closer to having a working version. But I originally ported the bakery module. I think Jason Flatt did a little work on that recently. I'm not sure how much farther it's gotten, but he picked it up and looked at it at least. And then the Stanford projects are using a different external authentication service, and they have a module that interacts with that, which is working, but we don't use that service, so we would need to spend some time setting that up if that's the direction we wanted to go. And
is it paid or free service?
I don't know. It might be one of those things where you can have it as a paid service, or you could like run it on your own server. But there are a couple of options like that all use sort of like a more universal, I don't know, pattern for how single sign-ons work that isn't specifically related to our system. But the advantage of Bakery is that because it's built in our system, anyone who can work in our system can work on it. And all of these other platforms sort of require people with that experience. And we don't currently have anyone who does or who's interested in learning it. That could change at any moment, depending on anyone's motivation. So we haven't really made any significant progress, but we have a lot of options if we wanted to.
Okay, thanks. I think that Tim muted himself because the dog is noisy.
I did. There's two of them in there. Something's got their attention. Yeah, I think Nate has implied that maybe since that with all the other options out there, there might be something better than Bakery, but really what we need is anybody that's either willing to work with Bakery or any other solution to do this. So, that's, I don't feel like we have anybody that sort of has the skill set and the knowledge that has stepped up to work on that. So if anybody is listening and feels like that might be a way they want to contribute, the longstanding need of this community to get single sign-on on our many websites. We'd love help with that. We're integrating, we're just moving Civic Crm into our main backdrop site, backdropcms.org, to help with things like the newsletter and member management and volunteer management. And that is something we're very close to. And that might, who knows, I could see where that might spur once we get that going. The interest in single sign-on might increase. We'll see. Good. Okay. If nothing else in Civic CRM, let's talk briefly about Bad Camp, because Bad Camp is coming up, and there's a little activity going on around there. So Irina has expressed an interest in sort of working with Bad Camp and trying to get some backdrop activity there this year. And I haven't heard a lengthy report from her, but she did give us a quick update in Zulip yesterday that she was looking at possibly helping organize a hybrid sprint during Bad Camp. And Jen and I had a meeting with Irina a few weeks ago, and I think her interest is in making it easier, working on the upgrade process from Drupal 7 at Bad Camp. And in particular, sort of creating a better UI for importing your Drupal 7 database into a new backdrop install. And she just sort of posed the question yesterday in Zulip, which is, do you think it would be okay to do a sort of a hybrid in-person virtual sprint during Bad Camp? And my response, although not very official, was just, I don't see why not. I think we'll have, as long as we've got at least some people at Bad Camp. And I think the only people we know of for sure that are going to Bad Camp are Luke and Irina, but that might be enough to have an in-person presence. And certainly, I think there are those of us that would participate remotely. I did submit a session to Bad Camp, which I had intended to submit another one, but I never did. So, and the first one was kind of a weak proposal. So I'm not overly optimistic about it getting selected, but if it did, that might give me a reason to come out to Bad Camp.
I have an update. So I have been talking with John Keeley, who's the current main organizer for Bad Camp. He asked if Backdrop would be interested in doing a summit, to which I said yes, but I asked a bunch of questions about what that might look like. They currently have one room that holds 200 people that would be available for 3 hours on Friday morning for a Backdrop summit. So I don't know what we can do in 3 hours, but it seems like if they're going to give us a place to do something, we should. He's looking into options for remote attendance. I think the whole event is sort of trying to figure out if they're going to try and handle remote attendance for sessions and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I said tentatively count me in and we'll figure it out. So I will be there at least for Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be there for Thursday or Saturday.
So what does a summit entail? Like, is it going to be training sessions as well, presentations? What is it?
It's up to us. So I guess that would be the question. Like, what do we think we can do effectively in 3 hours? We've done a summit before where we had various different agendas. I mean, we've done lots of summits before where it sort of is varied. We did one that was sort of like a court conversation thing, where there's a lot of talk about what we should do. And we had another one that was a little bit more educational for people who don't know what Backdrop is. We had some that were sort of informational in the morning and then go to work in the afternoon. So yeah, I think maybe, we should just think about like what are those 3 hours going to be most beneficial for us, knowing that, we don't have all day. People are probably going to come in not really knowing very much about Backdrop and hopefully be able to leave and go attend sessions the next day on it. So yeah. Sure. But we don't have an official guide as to what it should be. We can do whatever we want.
Well, I think the year I was there, you had a training one day and then a summit another day. So that helped make it, sort of define the summit because you'd already done the training. I mean, I personally, I think, prefer that it not just be a training. I think Irina was really looking at like how could we work follow up on this sort of opening with the DA to sort of build relationships with the Drupal community and to talk about how do we improve the upgrade process from Drupal 7. And that it would seem to me that might be an opportunity to work that into the summit where it would. So are you saying the summit's on Friday?
Yeah, Friday morning,
Okay.
9 to noon or something like that.
And then what happens Friday afternoon?
They have
You know?
another summit.
They have another summit. Okay. And then on Saturday are sessions?
I think so.
Okay. And do you know like when the official sprint would be? Is that, or are they going to have an official sprint, or is Irina sort of hacking something together?
I don't know. My guess is that they don't have an official sprint, and if Irina manages to organize one, then hers might be the official sprint.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, now that I think about it, I was only at Bad Camp once, and I don't think there was like a big sprint day. But I know that people were there sprinting, right? They would just like find a corner and
Yeah, we often would ask to have the venue for like an extra day, and then maybe like anyone who wants to sprint come meet here on Sunday or Monday or whatever.
Okay. Good. Well, I mean, if there were going to be sprinting on Sunday or something, and Friday sort of towards the beginning of the event, I could see where we could use that as like, let's talk about strategy. How can we better help Drupal 7 sites get out of Drupal 7 using Backdrop, and what are the things that we need to do to make it easier, and have that kind of a summit. But Jen, I think from experience, the problem with that is if 10 people show up and they're all beginners, that kind of discussion doesn't work so well, right? Then you almost have to go back and do an introduction. So I don't know. Anyone? Did you have any thoughts? You said you might be able to be there.
Yeah, so if I can definitely be there on Friday morning for those 3 hours. I was just trying to figure out from their website what the timeline looks like. It looks like it still says TBD everywhere.
It sounded like you said that this would be potentially a pretty big room that we would be in.
Yeah, so I think what they're doing is they have one room that they're just dividing into, like, that's the summit room. And so they're just going to put like summits there. But they don't have any kind of schedule or anything up yet. So I don't really know what else is going on around it.
I mean, if we knew we had enough people there, sometimes summits, say DrupalCon, do small group activities and stuff. And I think the problem is we just don't know if we have enough people that'll show up to a summit to break into small groups. But we could be sort of prepared that if there's a handful of experienced users that come and a handful of beginners, that we use the summit time to sort of break into an intro group that just talks about, and it answers questions and helps people get started. And then the advanced group could do more of the core conversation kind of thing. But I don't know. I just don't know if we can, if we'll have enough people to justify that.
Yeah.
Has anyone attended any hybrid events? Like I'm curious as to how it works. So if anyone wanted to help remotely.
So let me just say this quick. I'm pretty sure Bad Camp just tweeted out in the last week that they've sort of abandoned the hybrid idea for this year.
Okay.
That they just weren't going to be able to make it work. That doesn't mean that we couldn't try to do that ourselves in our summit. But it sounds to me like they're, and we should verify that, but I'm pretty sure I saw a recent tweet saying sort of, sorry, folks, we know people were asking for this, but we can't make it happen.
So they're switching to in-person basically, right?
Yeah, they're going full in-person officially, but it's a scaled down event. They're not expecting the full turnout that they would normally get. But again, we're talking about a hybrid sprint, which is pretty, that's not hard to do, I think, hybrid wise. And we could try to do something summit wise that way, although to be honest, I'm not sure if that's worth it. We're going to have Backdrop live 2 weeks later. It might be better if we're there to just do, just focus on the people that are there and then direct people, the remote folks, to come to Backdrop live 2 weeks later. Well, our first, did you officially say yes yet, Jen, or is that our first decision? Are we deciding whether?
I basically said, yes, count us in, let me know what you need from us in order to make this happen. Like, do you need an event description yet? Do you need an agenda? And I haven't even heard back to that, let me know what you need, email. So I don't know yet what they want. I don't even know if they, like, my yes was accepted, I guess. I'll follow up.
Great. Well, let's get a confirmation on that. I mean, Jen, I think that you, from experience, we're pretty good at being agile, right? And we could have a couple things in mind and just wait and see who shows up. Or
yeah, I think that sounds good. I think we could have like a presentation ready, and then we could have like some, demonstrations or case studies or something. Just a whole bunch of things we could potentially talk about in case no one in the room had anything particular they were interested in learning about. I imagine Irina will be there and she'll want to talk about upgrades. At the very least, we could use it to promote her sprint.
Yep. Okay. I like that. Okay, so we think we have an official summit at Backdrop or at Bad Camp, which was uncertain a few weeks ago. They weren't sure they would have space for us, so that's a good development, I guess. I just wish it were a better year for it. Anyways, anything else about Bad Camp? Okay. I think we should get it on our calendar and start letting folks know. When you get, Jen, if you get any kind of official confirmation, then let's tweet about it and start letting folks know.
Okay.
And we should connect with Irina too to find out if what else she's got in the works, because if anything, but she was really trying to push some stuff. Okay. What time is it? 38. Any other outreach stuff? So I'm gonna bring up a new topic, Zulip and outreach. There was a Zulip discussion going on or a Twitter discussion going on about Zulip, and I replied as the Backdrop user account, indicating that we used it, and Jen commented on that thread. And Jen, you expressed your ongoing frustration with Zulip, which inspired me to like drop into the Zulip chat and say, hey, we've gotten this feedback in our community, and we're wondering how other people have dealt with it, or to plant the idea that maybe there's something that could be done in the Zulip community or in the Zulip platform. It is an open source project, so I'm like, well, why shouldn't I just jump in there and advocate for making it better? Not to mention the fact that I think anytime we sort of engage with a community like that, it's a bit of outreach. It's reminding people that we're out there, and so. I don't have much to say other than that I've done that, and for the last 2 days I've been sort of going back and forth just a little bit on this topic of how to make the UI a little bit friendlier in terms of, especially around topics, and make that a little less frustrating. So if anybody else is interested in engaging with the Zulip community in their Zulip chat, I welcome them to come and join that. Otherwise, we'll see if that goes anywhere.
I did open some issues in their queue. I think when
Oh,
we
did
first
you?
adopted it, yeah, and there are other people requesting the same feature. I haven't followed up on it recently to see if anyone's worked on
Do
it, but
you?
I can find it.
Yeah,
Send it to
if you
you.
could find the issues, I wasn't sure, like if our way of handling things like that is, true of all. I didn't want to just go into their issue queue and open up new issues without sort of a better sense of what their culture was. So the
Yeah.
first thing I did was if you go to their sort of README, or about how to participate, for new features, it recommends that you send them an email. So the first thing I did was send them an email, and I sort of said, "Hey, is there an issue that I could participate in, or how should I do this?" But then before even waiting for a response, I just went and thought, well, let's just go to their Zulip instance and engage there. And I've gotten a few responses, but nobody's pointed me at any issues in the issue queue or anything. So, anyways, but I do see like our community reaching out and connecting with other communities as a form of outreach. That's not why I went there, but as I'm there, I'm certainly not hesitating to mention which community I'm from and just raising awareness. And I encourage others to do the same. Um, uh, what else do we have to talk about outreach wise? I suppose we should talk about Backdrop Live. I only hesitate because I haven't done anything in the last 2 weeks. We do what we should. So Jen, you confirmed, I think last week, that you do have registration live, which I don't think we've told anyone. So we should maybe at least let folks know in the insiders in the community that registration is live, so they can start to test it out. I would like to, actually, if you told me you think, is the site ready to tweet to tweet about Backdrop Live?
I registered and it worked. It would be good if we could at least have one other person register and confirm that
Sure.
it works. And
I'm
then,
thinking, yeah,
yes.
go ahead. Okay. I'm thinking in addition to just testing the process, like, is the content sort of set? Yeah, it looks like it's back to sort of the default.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
unpublished the schedule link in the menu, and I updated all of the taxonomy term times and stuff. So I think everything is ready
Nice.
except for the TBD discussion nodes.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. Our priority would be to get one or two more people to test the registration process, and then to start tweeting about it. Well, I guess we've got almost 2 months. It looks like, well, a good month and a half. October 21st. No, month and a, yeah. Okay. So we're ahead of the curve, and I think this is this is an opportune time to be ahead of the curve, because with Bad Camp coming up, with this the discussions about DrupalCon and stuff, it's just, I think, a really good time to like have an event, get it out there. I think we have been talking about one of the things we've talked about but haven't, I think, made an official decision on, although I'm leaning towards it strongly, is having sort of a scheduled beginner track that's almost like a training, a backdrop training that's scheduled during that prime spot. And the sooner we can publicize that, I think the more interest we could get in that. Does anybody else have any backdrop business or thoughts?
Open source day is coming up.
Yes.
I don't know if that's worth mentioning, but we now have a Slack channel with the open source day folks where our project mentors are starting to show up, which is great. These are people who are going to help us on sprint day with new collaborators. Tim and Nate and I have all jumped in there, and I think one of our reps is there now. So we're all just sort of getting organized for Global Sprint Day.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the only public thing here is that now's a good time. If you're in the issue queue and you see good beginner issues, it's a great time to tag them so that we have a good variety of issues for the sprint. Anything else? We do let's talk actually sort of reflecting back to the Civic CRM discussion. Robert, you suggested a good first thing to do would be the newsletter in there. What is optimistically, what's our best timeline? We should get a newsletter out soon. And I'm wondering if we should wait for Civic CRM. I'm really hesitant to do that though, because of our track record. Or if we should go ahead and get one out now, because we're going to, if with Backdrop Live coming up, you know, it won't be long till we need to do another one anyways. Do you have, what's sort of optimistically, if we got testing, how long, what's the minimum amount of time it would be before we were ready?
Yeah, minimum say a week, but realistically, I think the thing I'd like to get it like a clear go ahead. I'm not sure where that comes from to take everything that we've done on beta site and move it onto production on backdropcms.org. And then the other thing with this sort of unknown is confirming that once I get the list of all the email addresses from should receive the newsletter, that I can properly import those into Civic CRM contacts and the group for the newsletter. So roughly 2 weeks till we could do that, and that's predicated on getting a go ahead to move things onto backdropcms.org and getting a copy of the newsletter email list.
Are you going to need to coordinate with anyone else to do this go live process, or is this something that you could sort of carry through yourself?
No, I think I can do it all myself. I just don't want to get too far in front of the technologies, you know, do things before people can have someone say, wait, we weren't ready for that yet.
Yeah, I think I can pull all of the email addresses out of MailJet and drop them in Sendinblue. And then when we get an export from Sendinblue, that would be like our definitive list. And I can either pull that, or you should have the access to that in the marketing keychain for 1Password. And then hopefully you'll have everything you need and won't be blocked by any of us. And then I guess the next thing would be figuring out, like, do we need to set up an email template or anything in there in order to get that message out, or is that already sort of baked into Civi?
If there is a template for like standard header and standard footer that we want to use, we'll need to add those to Civi. If there's a template, I don't think there's a template place for a template for the newsletter itself.
Okay.
You sort of copy and paste. Could I ask? So I've never delved into Sendinblue, and if you want, I can go start spelunking. But if it'd be possible to, like, say, for you to do the Sendinblue interactions so that I just end up with a CSV file addresses, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I feel if I'm going to be in there anyway importing them, it's no big deal to export them while I'm there. So, okay.
Well, I would say if we can get a newsletter out this week, that we not wait for that. But if it drags on much longer, then we go ahead and wait. And that we really shoot for 2 weeks, maybe by this meeting 2 weeks from now, that we're ready. If we haven't done so, that we're ready. Should we, tentatively, do we need another week to sort of let people give you feedback, or do you want to just play that by ear? Robert.
No, I'll play it by ear. I mean, assuming those who are either at this meeting or who watch the video have their notice to go take a look at beta and squawk. And if we don't hear anything within the next several days, I'm traveling anyhow. I'll proceed.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I took a look at beta. I think it looks fantastic. I have like a very minor CSS change I want to make to the profile page, but I don't think that should block anything. So it can happen anytime.
Okay.
I
I've
think it
actually
looks
got
good.
one CSS change still to commit to the profile
Okay.
page. So let
Maybe
me,
that's
let me
it.
do that. You might have done with my one.
Okay.
Okay.
Good, that sounds like a plan. You know what, it's 10 minutes to. If nobody, well, I am gonna just put out a plea for blog posts. It's something we used to do regularly. And I'd like to start doing that more again. I'd like to see more content. I've made a few suggestions over the last 2 weeks. Anytime I hear a topic that seems like it would be a good blog post, I've been sort of pitching it and saying, hey, if anybody can write a blog post for that, we'd love to have some content from macro.org. So I'm just going to make a generic pitch for that. But then I think maybe we should go ahead and wrap this meeting up and go ahead and have a break between meetings for a change. If that's okay with everybody.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay. Let's take a 10-minute break and see everybody for the dev meeting in about 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone. Jen, can you get the button?
I can't find the button. Where is it?
I think it's in the same place as the go live button.